Our next speaker is Jessica Lamb. Jessica works as a peer-led development coordinator at the AIDS Network Kootenai Outreach and Support Program, ANCORS, and is a co-founder, coordinator, and advocate at the East Kootenai Network of People Who Use Drugs. She's been working with us on the Boost Collaborative for a while now, and she's been speaking at many events recently, and she always has such a great story to share. We're always learning so much more about her, and we really value her willingness to speak with us today. So I'm going to hand it over to Jessica.
Oh, you're on mute, Jessica.
Good. I'm a little nervous for some reason today, but that's okay. Thank you for having me. My name is Jess Lamb. I am, as the introduction said, I'm the Peer Lead Development Coordinator with our local harm reduction agency, which is ANCORS. And I am the co-founder and project coordinator of the East Kootenai Network of People Who Use Drugs. And I would just like to acknowledge that I'm calling in from the unceded ancestral and traditional territory of the Ktunaxa Nation. So a lot of the work that I do is out in Kimberley and Cranbrook, British Columbia. So I'm here today to share a little bit about myself and my experience. I identify as a person who uses drugs. I was, a little bit of a late bloomer with my substance use. I didn't start until I was in my late teens. It started with drinking and then, progressed to party drugs like MDMA while I was in college. And then I knew right off the bat that I was a person with problematic substance use, and the substance use, the disorder just kept on progressing. And in 2013, I found myself engaging in sex work in Red Deer to support my cocaine addiction. And I was a person who used IV drugs. I ended up getting hepatitis C. And in 2015, I decided to, because the opioid crisis or the fentanyl started showing up in the drug supply and all of my friends were dying. So at that point, I decided to get into recovery and stopped injecting meth, smoking heroin, and using GHB. And I had about 4.5 years without using those substances. I was in active recovery. I was going to many 12-step meetings, and then COVID hit. And at the same time, I started getting into harm reduction work. And I guess, a couple months into COVID, my partner had started, who was also in recovery, started using substances again and brought, he ended up accessing the street supply, but then because of the risk mitigation guidelines, he was able to advocate for himself and he got access to Dilaudid, and he brought the Dilaudid into my house or into our home. And at the time, because, previously I was a person who used stimulants. I really liked meth. So when it came to using this Dilaudid, I didn't think anything of it. I thought I could use once. At the time, my mom had just gotten a cancer diagnosis of lung cancer, and they caught it late in stage 4. So, when the substance came to me and I just wanted to get rid of the pain in that moment, I decided to use, and I thought that I could just use once, and I used the next day and the day after that and the day after that. And next thing you know, I found myself in a situation where when I didn't have the Dilaudids, I was getting sick. So because of the work that I do with ANCORS and the advocacy for, other people in our community, I decided that I was going to advocate for myself to get on to get access to the Dilaudids, because at that point, I had not accessed the fentanyl supply, and I did not want to access the fentanyl supply, but I found myself in this situation where it was like, either I was going to have to advocate for myself, or one thing was going to lead to another, and I was going to find myself accessing the toxic drug supply. And I know where that leads me, right? It leads me to, survival sex work, homelessness, and everything else in between. So, at the time I had a family doctor, and I called her, and I, advocated for this, to have access to the risk mitigation guidelines and the Dilaudid, and she just really didn't want to do it, right? Like, and this is at the beginning of COVID. And she said to me, like, if I give you this prescription and you go and overdose and die, it's my reputation that's on the line, and that, I don't want that to happen. And when I heard that, it was like, all I heard was that her reputation was more important than my life. And I was really trying to like say, I'm not accessing the street supply. I need help right now. This is where I'm at. I know that with the pain and the stuff that was going on in my life with my partner, who, the safes or the Dilaudid didn't really work for him. He kept on accessing the street supply, and, trying to support somebody in that kind of situation is really stressful. He had 4 overdoses in a period of like a really short time. So dealing with that, and then my mom's, cancer diagnosis, I had a lot going on, and I just needed support in that moment, right? And so I am really thankful that my doctor did end up prescribing me, gave me access to the Dilaudid. However, I got dumped afterwards pretty fast and found myself without a family doctor. And so thankfully, she had put in a referral to the OAT program here in my community. But it took a while to get that referral. I think it was like 3 months from the time that she put it in to the time that I got the phone call from, the OAT clinic saying that they would take me on as a client. And so, I got, and I'm really thankful that that went down, because I got put with a doctor who, really supported me in my recovery and what I was doing. My goal was to not access the street supply. And, because I, with my family doctor, as soon as I got on to the risk, like to the Dilaudid, she immediately wanted to start tapering me. And when she started tapering me, I wasn't really in that place. So I was accessing Dilaudid through, through the street. And because of my position with, with anchors and the work that I was doing in the community, like I did not want to be buying Dilaudid off the street because I wasn't getting enough, because my doctor was tapering me. So I was really nervous to ask this new doctor to increase my my Dilaudid. But at that point, it was like I had nothing to lose. And, I was like humming and hawing about it. And finally, I was just like, look, this is what I need. And it was no questions asked, right? She just supported me in that moment. And it was the best thing, because my relationship with the substance changed in that moment, right? Instead of somebody telling me that I was like, you had all this recovery time, you're throwing it in the garbage. How are you going to be there for your mom if you're using substances? Your mom's dying. You shouldn't be using drugs. Because like, I just had the worst things said to me, and all I'm trying to do is like put one foot in front of the other. I'm a human being. So what? I used drugs. Like, that's how I cope, right? And I just needed support in that moment. And I'm so thankful that this doctor didn't make, like, she didn't, I said, this is what I need. And she just got her prescription pad and she started writing the prescription. And, from there, I was able to start bringing down my dose. you know, I felt supported. It was this idea of like self-determination in my own recovery. And it really made me feel empowered when I was getting the support that I needed. Unfortunately, because this doctor was also an oncology doctor, and that was her primary practice, she left her post with OAT, and I got transferred with another doctor. And it was by far one of the worst healthcare experiences I had ever had in my life, you know, because it was telehealth and we weren't in the same community, and this is being done over the phone. You know, there's no face to face. So, you know, body language for me is a huge thing. And as soon as I got on with this doctor, like I had some concerns because like, yeah, she would work with me for my OAT prescription, but she really didn't want to work with me for my safe supply. But at the time, there was nobody else who could take me on in the area. So, you know, she worked with me because she had to work with me. And, you know, she told me right off the bat, I don't want to be working with you because of the safe supply prescription. And, you know, it was my second appointment with her. And because she found out, like with my urine screens, which are not supposed to be like a punitive thing, and the way that my body works and the way that my body metabolizes the substances, Oxycontin shows up in my urine screen, but I'm not taking oxys. And thankfully, the previous doctor had sent my urine in for confirmatory testing, and they found out that it was just the way that my body does things. However, when my file got transferred to the new doctor, she didn't believe that. She believed that I was accessing Oxycontins through the street. And because I had said that I was using my Dilaudid intravenously, she cut my dose in half, and like right in half that day. And, you know, my mom was like really sick at that point. Like she was like, it was just like a couple more like weeks, if that. Like I knew that she was on her way out. I did not need this like crazy change in my life. You know, she brought her personal biases into this. Oh, well, if you're shooting your Dilaudid, how do you even make it to work? You must be lying. You must not go into, and it was just like, why can't I be supported? Why can't I be trusted? Like, I'm just here, like, you know, like I'm a human being, I'm trying. And, you know, it was just, she wouldn't believe a thing I said. It was not empowering, you know, same thing. How can you be there for your mom if you're using these substances? And it's like, you know, I was a primary caregiver to my mom when she was dying of cancer. I was there every day. I showered her, you know, like I was there, and I did not need a doctor who wasn't, you know, who was just calling me a liar to be telling me that, like, you know, because I use drugs, I'm not able to do X, Y, and Z. So my mom had an appointment with one of her oncology doctors. I was there with her, you know, for this appointment, and she was treated so well. And in that moment, I thought to myself, you know what, I don't need to be treated like this because I'm a person who uses substances. I need to be empowered and supported. And, you know, I advocated for myself, and I am now seeing a new doctor. I have to travel 6 hours once every couple of weeks to go out and see this doctor, or a nurse prescriber out in Nelson. But he's working with me with my safe supply and my OAT prescription. OAT is a huge part of this for me, right? Like I know it doesn't work for a lot of people, but it works for me. And, you know, he is supporting me. And again, when I'm not supported and I'm feeling like I am, you know, being told that I'm horrible because I'm using substances, like, you know, my use increases, my relationship with the substance changes, right? But when I am empowered and, you know, treated like a human being, or at least with a little bit of dignity and respect, right? Like my relationship with the substance changes. And, you know, since being with this new doctor, I've cut my, you know, my safe supply or my pharmaceutical alternative dose from 18 Dilaudids to 8. You know, I'm not using them intravenously right now, you know, like it's been a whole different way, right? Like it's been really awesome. And, you know, the other day, I have family out in Alberta, and I was really, they're having a 50th wedding anniversary. And, I was really worried that, my OAT prescription, like these prescriptions, like, I'm on a daily dispense. I go to a pharmacy every single day. It dictates my life, right? Like what time I do them in the evening. It runs everything. Everything revolves around my OAT because it keeps me healthy. And so, I want to go out of town for a couple of days, and I was nervous that I was going to be told no, but my prescriber sees the importance of family and connection and has given me carries so I can go out and see my family here next weekend. And that's awesome. Like, that's the support that we need, right? Like, we're just people trying to find our way in all of this. And, yeah, my substance use might have been a choice, but like, really, I'm just trying to cope in my life. And, people use drugs, like that's just the way it is. And, if we can come together as a community and support each other in all of this, like when prescribers really support the people that they're working with, miracles can happen. So anyways, that's all I have today.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing your story and for being so open with us. We really do appreciate hearing it. This is why we do this work. And, this is really what we need to focus on is the words that you just shared with us. You did mention that you have some time for some questions. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments they want to share either through the chat, or you can unmute yourself.
Thanks.
Just want to really thank you, Jessica. You said you were nervous, but like you so eloquently, clearly explain your journey. And I imagine that patient journey map that I've seen a few years back with all the pitfalls, and like your individual journey has so many of those, and so many areas where we can improve our system to try to make people not have to go through what you've gone through. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I don't know if I acknowledged it. I have a little note here to acknowledge like my privilege as a white female. I get it a lot easier than other people, right? And like I know that I'm through the advocacy work that I do, I've heard that from a lot of other people too, right? That like, it really, so, if my struggle, and I know my experiences are all personal, right? But I just can't imagine like if that's what I've gone through, like what the hell are other people going through, right? So
any other questions or comments? I see some comments in the chat thanking you for sharing.
I just wanted to say thank you, Jessica, for sharing this story. It brought tears to my eyes. You're so courageous to come here today and speak to this group the way that you did with such truth and honesty. So just really grateful for you taking the time to talk to us. And I think you highlighted so eloquently today the principles of harm reduction, right? And that idea of, meeting people where they're at, promoting your autonomous decision making, talking about dignity and respect. And this is really what we need to underpin all the work that we do. And I think your story really highlighted that for us in a very personal way. So thank you.
thank you.
All right, well, we have Jessica with us for most of the day today. So if anything comes up, feel free to connect with her directly on the chat or for others to also see. And she is part of our steering committee, so she's very actively involved in Boost and will be over the next 10 months. So if you ever want to connect with her, I'm sure she'd be open to that. Thank you again, Jessica.